She's talking about behaviors, and she's cloaking these behaviors under the false guise of
for those rights to be maintained, which means we have to be vigilant, and it's just the nature of it. I mean, look what
It's like you can't have like a normal conversation, and it's like it's like that they become completely
and
irrelevant.
it doesn't mean we don't see the beauty in everything, right? These things all coexist.
compassion. I mean, she's lecturing a guy who got shot about being in danger.
What if one of the most outspoken social activists in the country had been hiding a massive secret all along? Imagine the face of a cause so powerful, so widely adored, and then the mask comes off. What if that person wasn't who they seemed to be at all? Meet Jane Doe, a public figure known for her fiery speeches, her fight for the marginalized, and her unshakable stance on social justice. To millions, she was a champion of the oppressed. But behind the public persona, something darker was brewing. Something so scandalous it would shake the foundation of everything she stood for. What Jane had been hiding would leave her supporters questioning everything they thought they knew about her. Jane's rise to fame was anything but accidental. As an outspoken advocate for social justice, she quickly became a symbol for a new generation of activists. Her speeches, filled with passion and fire, electrified crowds. She advocated for the oppressed, whether they were marginalized communities, refugees, or those affected by systemic injustice. Her image was carefully crafted, a fearless, unapologetic warrior standing at the front lines of change. But beneath the surface, there were whispers, small rumors that no one took seriously at first. Some people questioned her funding, her connections, the sources of her growing power. Was it really about helping others? Or was there something more? Jane's supporters would have none of it. For them, she was a hero. But that image started to crack wide open when one fateful event sent shockwaves through her career. It wasn't the first time Jane's name had been tied to rumors. In fact, over the years, there had been talk, quiet murmurs about her ties to powerful political figures, a few questionable donations, and certain associations that didn't quite match her public stance. Yet every time someone raised an eyebrow, Jane's team was quick to dismiss it as nothing more than smears from her detractors. But in the summer of 2023, a whistleblower stepped forward, shaking the foundation of everything
About behaviors, and she's cloaking these behaviors under the false guise of
You can't reason with people. So, like, I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner, and it was like a nice, quiet dinner.
passion. I mean, she's lecturing a guy who got shot about being in danger.
Jane had built. Documents leaked from an anonymous source. Inside were emails showing Jane's involvement with organizations that were less than reputable. At first, they seemed like nothing more than a few shaky connections. But the deeper the investigation went, the more damning the evidence became. These weren't just casual affiliations. Jane had been in close contact with political groups known for their controversial views and, in some cases, their shady dealings. The public reacted with shock and disbelief. Could this really be true? Was the person they had been idolizing actually connected to dark money, shady political maneuvers, and questionable motives? Was Jane really who she claimed to be? It didn't take long before things spiraled further. As more information came to light, the rumors proved to be only the tip of the iceberg. Leaked documents revealed that Jane had accepted large sums of money from various organizations, groups whose funding sources were linked to highly partisan political agendas. These weren't the grassroots movements she had always claimed to support. No, these were the kinds of organizations with interests in manipulating elections and pushing an agenda that didn't align with Jane's public image. And it didn't stop there. New leaks revealed private meetings Jane had with controversial figures, people who were notorious for their underhanded tactics. And it wasn't just about politics. Some of the people Jane was associated with were known for their connections to corporations accused of profiting from human suffering. The revelations were shocking. Her image as an activist who cared deeply for the little guy began to unravel in front of the world. Her supporters tried to defend her, claiming that it was all just a smear campaign, a politically motivated attack. But the evidence was overwhelming. Jane's carefully constructed image was starting to show cracks, and the public began to question everything. Now that the pieces were falling into place, it became clear that Jane's actions weren't just about social justice. No, there was something deeper at play, a hidden agenda that would change everything. The documents revealed something even more sinister. Jane had been using her platform not just to push for justice, but to further her own political ambitions. It wasn't about helping the oppressed, it was about gaining power. It turned out that some of the organizations she had been publicly criticizing were actually funding her rise to prominence, manipulating her image for their own gain. As the investigation deepened, it became clear that Jane had been working behind the scenes to position herself for a future far beyond activism. The goal wasn't simply to push for social change, it was to build a political dynasty. And every step she took, every rally she held, every tweet she posted, it was all part of the plan to gain influence, to gain power, and ultimately to control a narrative that suited her. And what about the donations she had been so vocal about? It turns out that the money wasn't all going to the causes she claimed. Much of it was funneled into private accounts, into shadowy political campaigns, and into initiatives designed to cement her influence. What had started as a fight for the marginalized had turned into a quest for power. Jane wasn't just a leader, she was playing the game like a seasoned politician. The backlash was swift, and it was brutal.
It's like you just can't have like a normal conversation, and it's like it's like that they become completely irrational.
Truth long established that a liberal woman over 50 with a lesbian haircut is sure to support.
For the first time in her career, Jane found herself in the hot seat. Critics came out of the woodwork, demanding answers. People who had once hailed her as a hero now turned on her, accusing her of being a fraud. Her once loyal supporters were divided. Some stood by her, convinced that the leaks were part of a political attack. But the evidence was damning, and it became harder and harder to deny the truth. Jane, for her part, remained largely silent. Instead of addressing the accusations head-on, she released a vague statement about her personal journey and how complicated things had become. It didn't help. The public wasn't satisfied with a cryptic message. They wanted the truth. And Jane refused to give it to them. In the days and weeks that followed, her career slowly began to crumble. Her speeches, once met with cheers and applause, now fell on deaf ears. The media turned on her, with pundits and journalists ripping apart her carefully crafted persona. The activist who had once been the face of social change was now a symbol of hypocrisy. Just when it seemed like Jane's career was over, a shocking twist emerged. A secret recording surfaced, an audio clip of a private meeting between Jane and one of her major financial backers. In the recording, Jane could be heard discussing her plans to leverage her platform for even greater influence. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just about political power. Jane had been secretly negotiating with corporate interests, companies known for their exploitation of workers and the environment. She had been planning to use her social justice platform as a stepping stone to secure even more lucrative deals with powerful corporations. The recording sent shockwaves through the media. Jane's supporters were left speechless, and her critics had a field day. The twist wasn't just about political ambition. It was about money, power, and control on a scale no one had imagined. So what happens now? Can Jane Doe, the activist who built an empire on the backs of the marginalized, survive the scandal? The answer isn't clear. What we do know is that her carefully constructed public image is in tatters. The truth is out, and it's far darker than anyone could have predicted. Whether Jane can recover from this will depend on whether she can win back the trust of the public, and more importantly, whether she'll be able to navigate the political and financial fallout. As for her future, well, it's uncertain. The question remains, will Jane learn from this? Or has she permanently altered the course of her career in the quest for power? And what do you think? Was Jane justified in her actions? Or is this a classic case of someone who got too power-hungry? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of the people who shape our world.